Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a really remarkable journey, I think. It takes us right to the core of what it means to be human, our fundamental, undeniable need for safety and connection. Just imagine for a second two totally different scenes. Picture a dark night, no stars, thousands of feet up over enemy territory in Afghanistan. A pilot, his call sign is Johnny Bravo. He's flying blind above thick clouds, and then 3 words crackle over his radio. Troops in contact. I mean, the stakes just couldn't be higher, right?
Intense.
Yeah. Now contrast that with something completely different. A factory floor right here at home. You've got hardworking people feeling deeply untrusted, so much so they have to ask permission just to use a payphone. Meanwhile, the office staff, they can just roam around freely.
Wow, quite the contrast.
Exactly. Worlds apart, it seems. But they both shine a light on a critical truth. So today, we're going to unpack this powerful collection of insights, mostly drawing from Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last. Our goal is really to pull out the core ideas. Why do some groups just pull together, thrive even, while others just fall apart?
Right. What makes the difference?
And, more importantly, what can you do about it? How can you cultivate this vital trust, this cooperation in your own life, whether that's at work, at home, maybe in your community? Our core mission here is to show how the greatest organizations, maybe even the greatest societies, really thrive when leaders make it a priority to create an environment where people feel genuinely safe among each other.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, isn't that this is some, abstract management theory. It's how deeply rooted these concepts are in our biology, our anthropology even. We're going to explore how we're wired for survival, yes, but just as much for cooperation and connection. Feeling safe, it isn't just like a nice to have. It's absolutely essential for our health, physical and mental, for our happiness, for our collective success. And conversely, we'll see how a lack of that fundamental safety can literally make us sick, can stifle creativity, cripple our effectiveness, both as individuals and, as a group.
So this deep dive, it's not just about understanding ideas, it's about finding practical insights, right? For a better, more connected life.
Exactly. Tangible takeaways.
Okay, let's start with a foundational principle then, one that really anchors this whole discussion, the circle of safety. Now, this isn't exactly a new idea, but maybe one that's been forgotten in a lot of modern places. It basically suggests that humans thrive, genuinely flourish when they feel safe within their group. This internal security, it frees them up, allows them to focus their energy outwards on common challenges, external threats.
So the idea is the dangers outside the circle shouldn't also exist inside it.
Precisely. You nailed it.
It's a concept, illustrated really beautifully by that old fable, right? The one about the 4 oxen and the lion.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Tell us about it.
Well, the story goes, there's this hungry lion, always prowling around a field where these 4 oxen lived. And many times the lion tried to attack. But whenever it got close, the oxen would instinctively, turn their tails towards each other. They'd form this kind of impenetrable circle.
Right. Horns facing out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So whichever way the lion approached, it was met by a set of horns. Together, they were this united front. Formidable, safe. They could easily handle any external threat because they were secure with each other inside their circle.
But like all good fables, there's always a catch, isn't there?
Always. So the oxen, despite being so successful together before, they eventually started arguing among themselves. Their trust just fractured. Each one got convinced they could do better on their own. So they went off to different corners of the field, isolated, vulnerable.
And let me guess, the lion saw its chance.
Exactly. Seeing them divided, isolated, the lion just picked them off one by one. Wasn't a united herd anymore, just 4 easy targets. And, well, the lion quickly made an end of all 4.
It's not just a kid's story, is it? It's such a stark metaphor for human groups, teams, companies, even communities.
Absolutely. When people inside a group have to constantly manage dangers from within, politics, backstabbing, lack of trust, maybe cutthroat competition, the whole group becomes fundamentally weaker, less able to face the real external threats that are always out there.
Like market shifts or economic downturns.
Or global pandemics, yeah. The real threat often isn't the lion outside the gates. It's the disunity inside that lets the lion in.
And we see this principle, this circle of safety, playing out in the most extreme life or death situations. Let's go back to Captain Mike Drowley, Johnny Bravo, the A-10 pilot we mentioned earlier.
Right, the Afghanistan story.
Yeah. It was August 2002, dark night, thousands of feet up over Afghanistan. No light, no stars, no moon, just blackness. His team on the ground, 22 special ops guys, deep in enemy territory. escorting some high-value target through this treacherous valley. Everyone's on edge, knowing they're being watched. Every shadow feels like a threat.
And what's absolutely critical to get about Johnny Bravo's actions that night, they weren't ordered. It wasn't part of some standard flight plan. He was thousands of feet up, relatively safe in his cockpit, right? But he could just feel it. The anxiety, the sheer terror of the guys below him.
He had this practice, didn't he, to connect with them?
Yeah, it's incredible. He trained himself to replay scenes from Saving Private Ryan, specifically the Normandy landing, the intensity, the chaos. He'd visualize the bullets, hear the cries. It wasn't detached analysis. It was about deeply connecting viscerally with what they were going through down there.
Wow. So when those words finally came, troops in contact, he didn't hesitate.
Not for a second. He knew he had to act. And what he did next was, well, both extraordinary and incredibly risky. He did these unsanctioned maneuvers, plunging his A-10 down through the clouds. He was literally counting seconds in his head to avoid hitting mountains he couldn't even see.
Unbelievable.
He made continuous aggressive passes over the enemy, laying down fire. Even when he ran out of ammo, he kept going, called for his wingman to follow his lead, keep up the suppression, all of it, just to protect those men on the ground.
And the result?
22 men went home alive that night. 0 American casualties. And this wasn't about a bonus for him or a promotion or even following a direct order. It was, like he said later, just part of his job.
That's incredible.
And here's the really profound takeaway for you listening. Johnny Bravo credits empathy as his single greatest asset that night. Think about that. Not his training, not the tech in his plane, but his ability to connect with the feelings, the fears of others.
He just knew deep down.
Because they would have done it for me. That's it. That's the reciprocal nature of the circle of safety in action. When you, as a person or leader, are willing to make sacrifices, go above and beyond for those in your care, this profound trust gets forged.
And in return?
In return, those people will be willing to make extraordinary sacrifices for you, for each other, and for the mission. It creates this culture where protection and service just flow in every direction.
Exactly. It's a culture of profound sacrifice and unwavering service. When those bonds are really there, that genuine feeling of we're in this together and our leaders have our backs, then everyone in the group becomes capable of remarkable courage, willingness to put the group first.
Yeah, they'd gladly share wins, help colleagues succeed, and expect the same back. It's this self-reinforcing loop, isn't it? Trust and cooperation feeding each other.
Okay, so you might be thinking, right, intense military story, but what does this mean for me in my normal everyday life? You're probably not flying an A-10, right? Or navigating enemy territory. But the fundamental principles, creating safety, fostering trust, they apply directly to your office, your team, even your family. Let's bring it down to earth a bit.
Okay, yeah. Consider the example of Hasten Sandiaker. It's a manufacturing company where the CEO, Bob Chapman, he made this discovery that totally changed their culture. He was talking to a factory worker, a guy named Campbell, who voiced this really deep-seated resentment.
What did he say?
Campbell basically said, look, I walk in the same door as the engineers, the accountants, the office folks. They turn left to the office, I go straight into the plant, and we're treated completely differently. He said, you trust them to decide when to get a coffee or take a break. You make me wait for a bell.
Wow. That's powerful, isn't it? It basically laid bare that there were 2 different companies under one roof, divided by this invisible line of trust.
Totally. Office workers implicitly trusted, factory workers treated like they couldn't be trusted with simple things. Like an office worker needs to call home, just picks up the phone.
But a factory worker
Had to ask permission to use a designated payphone. This feeling of being untrusted, it wasn't just annoying. It bred deep disengagement, resentment, a real us versus them vibe.
So what did Chapman do?
His response was brilliant, really. A masterclass in injecting empathy and trust. No big announcements, no demands for anything in return. He just ordered the time clocks and bells removed. Simple as that. And he made other changes too, all designed to send one message. Everyone, no matter their role, was a valuable, trusted human being.
And the outcome, did it work?
It's pretty astonishing. In the 10 years after those changes, virtually 0 theft from the factory floor.
Get out! Really?
Yeah. And even more moving, there was this time a colleague had a severe family medical emergency, needed time off. His fellow workers, they voluntarily transferred their own paid vacation days to him. They literally violated company policy to make sure he had the time he needed, showing this incredible level of care, mutual support that went way beyond the rules.
And Campbell, the guy who first raised the issue.
He summed it up perfectly later. He said, when you have people who trust you, they're going to do a better job for you. It's not just about efficiency, see. It's about shifting motivation from obligation and resentment to pride, ownership, wanting to work for each other.
Imagine your own workplace transforming like that. People stepping up spontaneously, helping each other, going the extra mile. Not because they have to, but because they feel valued, protected, part of something real. It's a powerful testament to what trust can do.
And this whole idea of safety, or the lack of it, it isn't just about morale or productivity, is it?
Yeah.
It has these profound, undeniable impacts on our physical and mental health. Which brings us to the Whitehall studies, really groundbreaking stuff done decades ago in Britain.
Right. They looked at the link between where you are on the corporate ladder and your stress levels.
Exactly. And our intuition, our assumption would probably be higher rank equals more stress, right?
Right.
We picture the high-powered exec, stressed out, tons of responsibility.
Yeah, the one dropping dead before 50.
That's the stereotype. But the findings of the Whitehall studies just completely flipped that idea on its head, revealed something really dramatic, kind of counterintuitive.
What did they find?
They discovered that stress wasn't primarily caused by the demands of the job or the weight of responsibility that comes with rank. Instead, it was fundamentally linked to the degree of control workers felt they had over their day.
Ah, control. Okay.
Yeah. The lower someone's rank in the hierarchy, and therefore, usually, the less control they had over their work, the greater their risk of stress-related health problems.
How much greater?
The stats were stark. Those at the very bottom, they had an early death rate 4 times higher than those at the top, even after controlling for things like smoking or diet. And jobs that stripped workers of control were also strongly linked to higher rates of mental illness.
So it's not just about money or climbing the ladder. It's profoundly about feeling like you have some agency, some control over your work, your life, being able to influence your environment.
Exactly. And here's where it gets biological. It connects right back to our chemistry.
Okay.
Our body's main stress hormone is cortisol, right? It floods our system when we feel danger or that lack of control. Well, cortisol actually inhibits the release of oxytocin.
Oxytocin, that's the trust and empathy chemical we talked about.
That's the one. So what does this mean in practice? An unsafe culture where you're constantly afraid of your boss, worried about mistakes, maybe think colleagues might undermine you. It doesn't just make you unhappy. It literally, biologically makes you more selfish, more focused inward, less concerned about others. Your body just prioritizes self-preservation.
Wow. So feeling insecure at work isn't just in your head.
Not at all. If you feel perpetually insecure, unsupported, it's not just affecting your performance or your mood right now. It's actively impacting your long-term health and your ability to genuinely connect with people.
This isn't theory, it's biology.
It's biology. Building these circles of safety isn't some, soft or fluffy management idea. It is absolutely fundamental to well-being, to sustained success for you, for your organization.
It really underscores the need for empathetic leadership, doesn't it? Leaders who genuinely care about their people's well-being.
Because the cost of not doing that in terms of health, stress, disengagement, overall effectiveness, it's immense. A strong, trust-filled culture is, quite literally, good for our health. Our ancient biology, it can't really tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a toxic boss.
Yeah.
The response is the same, flood of cortisol. But in a safe, supportive place, oxytocin and serotonin can flow freely, fostering resilience, innovation, real well-being.
Okay, let's go even deeper now, into the invisible forces, the currents inside us, shaping our behavior every single day. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Our bodies are constantly giving us these little rewards, driving our behavior through this sophisticated chemical system. Think of them like unseen forces shaping our lives, our interactions.
Yeah, the chemical soup we live in.
Exactly. We're talking about 4 main chemicals: endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, sometimes called EDSO for short.
And these chemicals, they represent this fascinating, almost paradoxical biological balancing act inside us. 2 of them. Endorphins and dopamine, you could kind of categorize them as the selfish chemicals. Their main job is individual survival, achievement, self-preservation. They push us to get things done for ourselves.
Okay. Endorphins and dopamine, selfish. Got it.
Then the other 2, serotonin and oxytocin, they're the selfless chemicals, designed for social bonding, cooperation, altruism. Both sets are absolutely essential for our survival, our success, not just as individuals, but as a species that thrives in groups. It's about managing this whole intricate chemical ecosystem.
All right, let's start with the selfish ones then. They're crucial for driving us forward, getting things done. First up, endorphins.
Right. Endorphins are basically our body's natural painkillers. Their main purpose is to mask physical pain, let us endure, push through discomfort. Think about our Paleolithic ancestors, maybe tracking an animal for miles, across rough terrain, exhausted, maybe injured, hungry. Endorphins kick in, dull the pain, give them that incredible stamina to keep going, make that final push to bring food back to the tribe.
So how do we experience that today?
Well, most commonly, through sustained physical exercise, that runner's high everyone talks about. That's your body seeking an endorphin rush. It's why lots of people feel this urge to hit the gym after a stressful day. It's a biological way to release that tension.
Okay, that makes sense. But you mentioned a surprising fact about endorphins earlier.
Ah, yes. Laughter. Deep belly laughter also releases endorphins.
Really? How does that work?
It sounds a bit odd, but when you laugh really hard, your organs actually convulse a bit, causing mild physical discomfort. Endorphins mask this pain, creating that feeling of euphoria release. It's why, as the comedian Stephen Colbert apparently said, you can't laugh and be afraid at the same time.
Huh.
I like that.
It suggests that bringing more humor, real lightheartedness, shared laughs into our daily lives, especially at work, can actually help relax people, dissolve tension, help us focus better.
So next time I'm stressed, maybe skip the run and just watch some comedy.
Could be just as effective, biologically speaking. A good laugh might relieve that tension.
Okay, interesting. What's the second selfish chemical?
That would be dopamine. This is the chemical that fundamentally makes us goal-oriented, gives us that bias for progress. It gets released when we clearly see a goal, or even just vividly imagine reaching it, like the caveman spotting fruit.
Exactly. He sees that tree loaded with ripe fruit in the distance.
Yeah.
Just the sight of it, imagining eating it, triggers dopamine. Incentivized him to stay focused, go get it. And as he walks, as the tree gets closer, each step of progress delivers these little hits of dopamine, powerfully driving him forward until he gets there.
And in modern life?
Dopamine rewards us constantly, achieving goals, hitting targets, making sales, even simple stuff like checking items off a to-do list.
Oh yeah, that feels good. Balancing the checkbook, clearing the calendar.
That's dopamine. That's exactly why writing down your goals, visualizing them, often helps you achieve them. You can see the progress, which feeds that dopamine loop.
But there's a catch, right? You mentioned abstract goals.
Right. This also means that vague, amorphous visions like, our company will be the most respected, they're often biologically useless for motivation. Our brains can't easily visualize most respected. Compare that to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. Little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls. We can see that, feel it.
That makes sense. A tangible vision.
Yeah, the most powerful visions, they offer something so compelling. Maybe we'll never fully reach it, but we'd gladly dedicate our lives trying, making each step meaningful, contributing to something bigger.
Okay, but you also mentioned a cautionary tale about dopamine.
Yes, and this is critical. Dopamine is highly addictive. Think about it. If you wake up, first thing you do is grab your phone. Check email, scroll social media, before even getting out of bed. You might be caught in a dopamine trap.
That sounds familiar.
That craving for the immediate hit, it's insatiable. Every ding, buzz, notification feels good, creates this powerful urge to repeat the behavior. Short-term hit, constant craving for more. This isn't just about bad habits, it has real implications. We see ADHD diagnoses rising. Sure, there are neurological factors, but it's argued we're becoming a generation better at being distracted, constantly seeking that next instant dopamine hit, struggling with deep focus.
So what's the advice for us, for you listening?
Recognize your own dopamine triggers. Harness it constructively, set clear, tangible goals, even small ones, direct its power. But critically, be mindful of that short-term gratification loop, especially with technology. Before you automatically reach for the phone or scroll endlessly, just ask, is this real progress towards something meaningful? Or just another quick hit?
So not eliminating it, but balancing it.
Exactly. Dopamine is essential. But we need to balance its drive with those vital, social, selfless chemicals we're about to get into. Maybe try things like deep work blocks, turn off notifications, truly focus, retrain your brain away from constant small rewards towards that satisfaction of real accomplishment.
Okay, great advice. Now let's pivot to the chemicals that truly make us social animals, the ones that build that circle of safety, serotonin and oxytocin.
Yes, the selfless chemicals. These encourage pro-social behavior, empathy, help us form those deep bonds of trust, friendship, make us genuinely look out for each other.
All right, let's dive into serotonin. What does this one do?
Serotonin is profoundly responsible for feelings of pride, status, earned respect within a group. It's why we instinctively like talking about our achievements, putting diplomas on the wall, showing off a trophy. It gives us that satisfying boost of social standing.
The feeling of importance.
Sort of. In any group, the alpha or the leader gets perks, privileges with their position. But, and this is critical, that elevated status comes with a deep biological expectation. The leader rushes towards danger first, makes sacrifices first, protects the group. As Lieutenant General George Flynn of the Marines said, the cost of leadership is self-interest. True leaders get that their position is a responsibility, not just a license for personal gain.
Interesting. You also mentioned fake versus real status.
Yeah, fascinating difference.
Like
Material things, designer bag, fancy car, flashy watch, they can give a temporary serotonin boost because they signal status to others. But that feeling, awesome, fleeting, shallow. There was a study, people wearing fake designer clothes thinking they were real didn't feel the same genuine pride as those wearing the actual thing. And even more telling, those wearing the fakes were more likely to cheat on other tasks later.
Wow. So faking it makes you feel phony.
Exactly. Because true status, that deep feeling of pride and respect, it's biological. You have to genuinely earn it to truly feel it. Lasting pride comes from earned respect, real contributions to the group, genuine relationships, not just flashing cash or titles.
So the takeaway for you listening is true respect, real pride. It doesn't come from just showing off success.
Right. It comes from your genuine contribution to your team, your community, your family. Ask yourself, how am I contributing in a way that truly earns respect? When you earn it by serving your group, that feeling is deep, authentic, and it lasts. Builds character, cements your place in the circle.
Okay, earned respect through contribution.
Yeah.
Got it. And finally, the magic stuff, oxytocin.
Oxytocin, yes, the magic stuff of human connection. It's the main driver behind love, deep trust, loyalty, empathy, generosity, that fundamental feeling of belonging. It's the chemical behind paying it forward. Think simple. You bend down, pick up paper someone dropped, boom, you get a shot of oxytocin.
And the person I helped.
They get one too. But here's the kicker, the part that shows how social we are. Someone just witnesses that small act of generosity, even if they're not involved. They also get a shot of oxytocin.
No way. Just seeing kindness makes us feel good.
Yes. Seeing or even hearing about kindness, generosity, courage inspires us biologically to want to do the same. It literally makes us better, more compassionate people. Creates this virtuous cycle of good behavior.
That's amazing. And physical contact.
Huge oxytocin releaser. That warm feeling when you hug someone you care about, maybe hold it a second longer. Holding hands, athletes high-fiving after a great play. These physical things powerfully reinforce our bonds, our commitment to work together.
Like the handshake in a business deal.
Exactly. Rationally, it's just the contract terms that matter, right? The legal stuff. But if your new partner refused to shake your hand, refused that simple physical contact that builds a little chemical trust.
You'd feel weird about it, uneasy.
Totally. It signals a willingness to trust, sometimes even more than the negotiated terms. It's a primal signal. We're cooperating.
And the health benefits, you mentioned those are significant.
Remarkable. Oxytocin boosts our immune system, makes us physically more resilient. It actively promotes longer, healthier lives. Study after study shows this. Happy, socially connected people live significantly longer, maybe up to 35% longer in some studies.
Wow.
And married couples who tend to get consistent oxytocin through intimacy, affection, they generally live longer than single people. Lower rates of chronic diseases like cancer, heart disease.
This is incredibly powerful for you to think about then, even small things.
Tiny acts,
Ah,
genuine compliments, sincere eye contact, sharing a slightly longer hug. They release this vital chemical, strengthen your bonds, improve your physical health. It really hammers home why prioritizing real, tangible human interaction over just virtual ones is so critical. Your well-being, the strength of your relationships, they literally depend on it.
okay, so given the power of these chemicals, our drive for connection, what happens when these natural systems break down? Our modern world, it's so big, so fast, so much information. It often fosters this thing you called abstraction, right?
Yes, abstraction. It's a really perilous phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's where human beings with all their unique stories and complex lives get reduced to just numbers, data points, impersonal statistics. And in that state, decisions, even ones with huge consequences, lose their human impact, become detached calculations.
It's about distance, isn't it?
Fundamentally, yes. Joseph Stalin reportedly said something chilling. The death of one man is a tragedy. The death of a million is a statistic. Right. You got it. As the scale of suffering grows, our capacity for individual empathy often shrinks. It's a paradox.
Like the Syrian civil war example. Hundreds of thousands dead. We know it's horrific.
Intellectually, yes. But compare that to the story of Kami Yoder. She saw one person hit by a train, later found out they died. She mourned that one young woman with this profound visceral empathy, an empathy that she, like most of us, struggles to feel for the abstract thousands in a faraway war zone. It shows how numbers fail us. At some point, statistics lose their connection to real people, become meaningless emotionally.
And we see this abstraction in the corporate world all the time.
Rampantly. Think about layoff decided on a spreadsheet. 4,000 people lose their jobs. To the exec. Maybe just numbers, rows to cut, a calculation to boost profit. Those numbers stop representing people supporting families, people with dreams, fears. They just become abstractions to be managed, moved, eliminated.
So the advice for you listening, next time you see a statistic, a big number, an economic forecast, challenge yourself. Remember the humans behind it.
Asked, who are these people? What are their lives like? What are the real consequences of these abstract figures? Just trying to make the abstract tangible can shift your perspective, your decisions.
It's impossible for a leader to know everyone in a huge company, obviously.
Of course not. But for leaders to connect, make human-centered decisions. Knowing the names, maybe a few details of even some people they're impacting through a product, a service, a policy change that makes a huge difference. The moment a statistic becomes a real person in our mind. Our ability to solve problems with empathy, innovate with purpose, lead with humanity, it just elevates remarkably. You shift from managing numbers to serving people.
And this abstraction idea, it's chillingly shown in that famous psychological experiment, isn't it? The Milgram experiment. Okay, let's unpack this unsettling reality.
Right. Stanley Milgram, Yale psychologist, 1961. He wanted to understand obedience to authority, especially after WWII with the whole just following orders defense from Nazi officials.
So what was the setup?
Volunteers were the teacher. They were told by an authority figure, the experimenter in a lab coat, to give electric shocks to a student for wrong answers. The student was actually an actor. The shocks weren't real, but the teacher didn't know that.
And the teacher couldn't see the student.
Right, but could hear them. Increasingly distressed shouts, please, as the supposed shock levels went up.
And the horrifying finding.
When the volunteers couldn't see or hear the student, a staggering 65% went all the way. Administered what they believed was a lethal 450-volt shock, simply because the authority figure told them to continue.
Even when they were clearly distressed themselves.
Yeah. Expressing extreme nervousness, moral anguish. But when the experimenter said firmly, the experiment requires that you continue or you have no other choice, you must go on, most just persisted.
Wow. That's terrifying. It powerfully shows that anything separating us distance, abstraction from the direct impact of our actions, it can lead us down a really dangerous path.
Absolutely. When we can't see or feel the consequences, when real lives become abstractions on a spreadsheet or a distant report, our immediate fears getting in trouble, losing our job, missing targets often take over. They override moral considerations.
And this is how modern corporate talk, like maximize shareholder value or fulfill fiduciary duty or even just acting within the law, how these can become sneaky versions of just following orders.
Exactly. Think about Apple's tax avoidance strategies. Perfectly legal, routing billions through Ireland to avoid U.S. taxes. But does it feel right? Or the Titanic. It had the legally required number of lifeboats for its size back then, but nowhere near enough for everyone on board.
They knew regulations might change, even made space for more boats, but didn't install them until after the disaster forced them to.
It's a stark example. Prioritizing minimal legal compliance over genuine care for human safety.
So it raises that important question. Is just following the law always enough? Is legal the same as moral?
As social animals needing trust, morality absolutely matters. Just following the law might mean trusting a cheating partner if they broke no marriage laws. But on a human level, a company's ethical compass, beyond the law, deeply impacts trust, loyalty.
So having a noble purpose matters.
It seems so. When leaders give us something truly noble to be part of, a purpose beyond just profit, it seems to give us the moral strength to do the right thing, even if it requires sacrifice or goes beyond strict legal limits.
Okay, and technology. While it connects us, you're saying it can also amplify this abstraction, this distance.
Paradoxically, yes. Look at cyberbullying. It thrives because of distance, often anonymity. Makes it easier to say horrible things you'd never say face-to-face. The lack of physical presence, real-time human feedback. It tragically reduces empathy. The screen becomes a shield, insulating us from the harm we cause.
And this extends to a lack of virtual trust.
Yeah. Why do hundreds of thousands of bloggers, podcasters, digital natives still flock to big in-person conferences? Because nothing truly replaces face-to-face for social animals. As the sources say, trust is not formed through a screen, it is formed across a table. It takes a handshake to bind humans. No video call, no VR can fully replicate that nuanced, oxytocin-rich experience of being physically together.
Which explains why remote workers can sometimes feel less part of the team.
It's a big factor. They miss those spontaneous chats, the nonverbal cues, the subtle humanity of just being there with others.
And this relates to Dunbar's number 2, the idea we can only maintain about 150 close relationships.
Directly. When groups get much bigger than that, something shifts. People become less likely to spontaneously help each other out, work hard for others. Those strong, personal, trusting relationships just get harder to form and maintain. We lose that intimate connection and the willingness to go the extra mile that comes with it.
And social media's impact on happiness. You mentioned studies showing more Facebook use can mean less life satisfaction.
Yes, repeatedly. More time scrolling curated, often idealized online lives. Young adults tend to feel worse about their own lives in comparison. Virtual relationships, while offering a sense of connection, often can't solve the fundamental human need for real-world connection. For many, they might even make things worse, replacing deep bonds with a superficial layer of online friends.
So the powerful application for you here is actively, deliberately seek out face-to-face interaction whenever you can.
Prioritize real, tangible connections. Make time for coffee chats, shared meals, physical gatherings with friends, family, colleagues. Your well-being, your resilience, the strength of your most important relationships, they genuinely depend on it. Don't confuse likes, comments, friend counts with those deep, oxytocin-rich bonds that truly nourish you and provide that vital circle of safety.
In a world designed to abstract us.
Actively rehumanize your connection.
Okay. So given everything we've talked about, our need for safety, our chemical drivers, the dangers of abstraction, what does this all mean for leadership?
Fundamentally, strong leaders build trust and cooperation by consistently showing unwavering integrity and by consciously, deliberately putting their people first. We can learn a lot by contrasting different styles.
It's like Stanley O'Neill at Merrill Lynch versus Captain Marquet on the USS Santa Fe.
Exactly. Stark contrast. O'Neill. Archetypal self-interest, isolation, ruthlessness. Private elevator, firing rivals, fostering paranoia, ignoring warnings. Led to the company's catastrophic downfall. His own team worked against him. A chilling example of how a leader can unravel a culture, turning protection into fear and collapse.
And Captain Marquet
took command of the USS Santa Fe, lowest-ranked sub in the Navy. Initially tried leading by technical knowledge, issuing orders. Quickly realized his crew just followed orders without thinking. Dangerous on a nuclear sub.
So he changed his approach.
Radically. He realized he needed to give control away, trust his crew, empower them to own decisions. Shifted from leader-follower to leader-leader. Everyone trained and encouraged to think and act like a leader.
How did that work in practice?
He had them report their intentions instead of waiting for orders. Created an environment where competence, speaking up, taking initiative were expected. The result didn't just boost morale. It transformed the Santa Fe into the best-rated sub in Navy history. Unprecedented performance. Safety. Marquet loved seeing others rise to the responsibility, strengthening relationships, fostering incredible trust.
It highlights that integrity matters profoundly, like the story of the 2 Marine officer candidates who fell asleep on watch.
Right, a serious offense. One immediately owned up, took responsibility, lighter punishment. The other lied, tried to cover it up, nearly got kicked out entirely.
Why the big difference?
Because in the Marines, trust and integrity are life and death. If you can't trust your officer's truthfulness under pressure, you might hesitate. Hesitation costs lives. Leadership isn't about being right all the time or infallible. It's a responsibility hinged almost entirely on character. To be a true leader, build deep trust, it starts with the courage to tell the truth, even when it's hard or makes you look vulnerable.
True leaders tell us what we need to hear, not just what we want to hear.
Exactly. Contrast corporate examples. Ralph Lauren's subsidiary, caught for bribery. Their response: admitted it immediately, cooperated, paid fines, reformed. Costly, yes, but preserved reputation, maintained trust through integrity.
Versus Bank of America.
Announced a debit card fee. Spun it as a customer benefit. Clearly wasn't. Public backlash huge. They dropped the fee, but refused to honestly own their original motivation. Lost massive trust because words and actions didn't match intentions.
So for you navigating your own life, look for leaders who embody integrity, who tell the truth even when it's costly.
And critically, In your own sphere of influence, however big or small, be that person. Your words and deeds must consistently align with your intentions to build lasting, unshakable trust. It's not complicated. Leaders who tell the truth create a culture where truth is the norm. Trust flourishes.
Now, what about hardship? You mentioned it can paradoxically strengthen us.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Humans are built to thrive through tough times, especially when we face challenges together as a group. Ask people, what was one of your best days at work? Few recall the smooth, easy projects.
Right. Most remember the chaos. Late nights, intense deadlines, crises where the team pulled together, cold pizza, too much coffee, barely making it. It's not the flawless work we remember fondly, is it? It's the camaraderie, the shared struggle, how the group came together, relied on each other, overcame obstacles.
Exactly. Because our bodies are wired for it. To get us to help each other, bond during struggle. Our bodies release oxytocin when we face adversity together. Shared hardship literally makes us closer, more trusting, more loyal.
Like military deployments, austere conditions, real threats, yet often remembered fondly.
It's not nostalgia for danger. It's for the incredible bonds forged under pressure. The oxytocin from shared vulnerability, collective effort, creates unbreakable connections. Knowing you made it through together, thanks to others' help, that mutual support doesn't just manage hardship. It makes it easier to endure, builds incredibly strong, lasting bonds.
So for you, embrace shared challenges. When things get tough, lean into your team. That we're in this together feeling, that mutual support. That's what makes hardship not just tolerable, but meaningful, builds resilience, success.
Which brings us back full circle to the core message. True leadership, the kind that builds thriving groups, is fundamentally about prioritizing people, not just numbers, not just short-term gains.
There was that big shift in the 70s and 80s, right? The rise of shareholder value as the main corporate goal.
Yeah, popularized by Friedman, Jensen, and Meckling. The idea that a corporation's sole purpose was maximizing profit for shareholders, often at the expense of employees, customers.
Like Jack Welch at GE, rank and yank.
He became the poster child, firing the bottom 10% of managers annually, regardless of company performance. Relentless focus on share price. Nicknamed Neutron Jack, buildings remained, people gone. This extreme focus on short-term numbers consistently sacrificed people, often disastrously. Think BP, Deepwater Horizon. Safety reportedly compromised for schedule, budget, immense human, environmental cost.
Didn't Welch himself later say shareholder value was the dumbest idea?
He did. He reflected and said it should be an outcome of good business, not the primary strategy. He realized the main constituencies are employees, customers, product quality.
And the contrast. James Sinek at Costco.
Powerful contrast. He flat out rejected the low-wage, minimal-benefit retail model, treated employees like family, prioritized morale, well-being, fair pay, even if it meant lower short-term profits.
And the result?
Exceptionally low turnover, under 10% for hourly workers. Unheard of in retail, incredible loyalty. And Costco's financial performance, consistently significantly outperformed GE long-term, proves unequivocally. Prioritizing people, building that circle of safety, investing in employees isn't just nice. It leads directly to superior sustainable success. As Sinek said, customers will never love a company until the employees love it first.
And remember that story about the ceramic cup, the former Undersecretary of Defense?
Oh yeah, poignant. During his tenure, he got coffee in a ceramic cup, a perk of the position. Year after he left, styrofoam cup. Made him realize all the perks. They aren't meant for you, the person. They are meant for the role you fill. He concluded, you only ever deserved a styrofoam cup.
So for you, in your own leadership, however big or small, remember who you serve.
It's the people, the living, breathing individuals, not abstract numbers. They're the ones who make your vision real. And if you're serving others, be humble about your position, your perks. True authority is earned through service, not status.
Okay, so this raises a really important question. How do we actually break these cycles? Self-interest, abstraction, they seem so common now.
Alcoholics Anonymous offers a really powerful analogy here. Many alcoholics struggle with lasting sobriety until they commit to step 12. A profound, selfless commitment to help another alcoholic beat the disease. It's about service. Serving real, knowable human beings, not abstract principles or vague goals. And the sources suggest this is the key to breaking our own dopamine addictions too, even in big organizations. Shifting from the endless, self-serving chase for the next hit to the deeper satisfaction of genuinely serving another.
And the value of a noble cause, a real purpose.
Can't be overstated. Remember Milgram's experiment. Volunteers with a strong belief in a higher authority, a moral code, a compelling vision, we're less likely to blindly obey harmful orders. For large organizations, the struggle shouldn't just be survival or small growth. They have resources for that. The real transformative drive comes from a vision of the world that does not yet exist, a challenge that outsizes their resources but not their intellect. Inspiring true collective purpose, enabling people to rise, driven by something bigger than themselves.
So the profound takeaway for you listening is actively seek out a purpose larger than yourself.
Find something noble to believe in, something that genuinely inspires you to commit time, energy, talent to others. It's in that selfless service to real people around you, colleagues, family, community, that you find true fulfillment, enduring satisfaction, and remarkable resilience, strength.
That's the strength we're biologically designed for, and it's entirely within our grasp to cultivate every single day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's try and bring all these threads together from our deep dive today. We've explored how our deepest human need is for safety, that profound security within a trusted group. We've shown a light on how our biology, through EDSO endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, rewards us for both individual achievement and, crucially, for social bonding, selfless acts.
Both are needed.
We looked at the dangers of abstraction, how it can disconnect us from human impact, lead to poor decisions, unhealthy cultures. And finally, we've seen that true leadership, the kind that builds thriving, resilient groups, is fundamentally about creating an environment of trust, integrity, shared purpose, consistently putting people before numbers or short-term gains.
Which leaves us with, I think, an important question for you to really consider.
Yeah.
Given everything we've explored today, our biology, our need for connection, the vital role of trust, what small, tangible step can you take starting today to strengthen your own circle of safety for the people around you?
At work, at home.
Yeah. Is it maybe having a genuine, uninterrupted conversation with someone? Really listening? Could it be volunteering to share a tough workload, embracing that shared struggle together? Or maybe it's as simple as offering a moment of empathetic presence, a sincere compliment, or just holding that hug a few seconds longer with someone you care about.
These individual acts.
They matter. The ultimate strength of our collective future and the quality of your own life really depends on these individual human acts of connection, courage, and compassion.